haven't re- Hello, welcome to Branding Like a Boss, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the cannabis industry's most influential brands and the talented minds behind them. I'm your host, Angela Pih, and today we're thrilled to be joined by David Hua, co-founder and CEO of Meadow, a comprehensive point-of-sale software solution for dispensaries. In today's episode, we're going to explore the strategies, challenges, insights that Hua has experienced while building Meadow. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a marketing professional, or simply fascinated by the cannabis industry, you're in for a real treat. So let's dive right in. Good morning, Hua. Welcome to Branding Like a Boss. We're thrilled to have you. Let's kick it off. Hey, I've been just so looking forward to this.
Hi. Thanks. Me too. I love talking with you. And I love everything that the Beer Bros are doing. It's always an honor to be with great people.
Well, I would say most people know you within the industry, but just in case, tell us about your background and what you do within the cannabis industry.
Yeah. My name's David Hua. I'm CEO and co-founder of Meadow. I'm one of four co-founders. We are based in San Francisco, and most people call me Hua.
Yeah.
It's happened since kindergarten. There's like five other Davids in the class. And we build software to help dispensaries sell more weed with less clicks. Um, it's been a journey. We started in 2014 and we're still here, believe it or not. Yay.
Yay. You're still here.
Yeah, we're
Well,
still here.
you've seen such a trajectory in terms of where the cannabis industry, from medical to adult use to different states coming on. And as you've taken a look at this particular landscape, but going back a little bit, how did you come up with the name Meadow, and what does it stand for? Like where did that? I mean, smoke sesh, brainstorming. How did that come to being?
Yeah, let's see. Well, the idea for Meadows came when I was at Oaksterdam. So I spent some time at Oaksterdam. This is like February 2014. It's out in the East Bay. Dale Sky Jones and Jeff
Love
Jones runs
her.
it,
Love
and
her.
she's amazing. And we were introduced to a number of advocates and champions, and people in the community and on the medical cannabis side. Um, and we met a couple dispensary owners. One was named Dave, ran a dispensary in Santa Cruz, and another is Debbie Goldsberry with Magnolia.
Mm-hmm.
And we just listened to their day to day. It just sounded like there's a lot of work involved. Um, so there was an opportunity to build some tools in the dispensary land. And it was also the same time when Colorado was legalizing. And
Yep.
so there was this moment of, okay, like California is probably going to do the same thing. Let's get ahead of it. And so we contacted a lawyer who was teaching there. His name was like Robert Raish, and we asked him, hey, like, can we build an on-demand cannabis tech company?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are the laws around this? And after going through it, we're like, okay, well, we just got to work with collectives and be able to send them orders. It should be okay. Um, so we said, yeah, let's do something in the space. And we got together at one of my co-founders' apartments, and we broke out the thesaurus. We broke out a handful of, I guess, memes and monikers that cannabis and weed and pod and Mary Jane, wink wink nod nod had,
Yeah.
and we came across Meadow. It just was perfect in our eyes. It symbolized gathering, like peaceful grass, like grass, weed, so people can, you know, get Meadow and chill, and only the people that know. And yeah, and that we found the domain. It was like getmeadow.com, and we're like, all right, this is it. This is what we're gonna call ourselves. And yeah, that's how it started. But it was kind of just getting together with my co-founders and just going back and forth for a while.
Yeah, because when we think about naming and branding, many early companies in cannabis tend to have 420 or Canna or something weedy going on in their name, and you guys chose something um, that really speaks to gathering. Speaks to a place, a destination that's almost inspirational. You think about, oh, we're going to gather in the meadow. We're going to go into the meadow because there's something calm. There's a place where you can be, and it's also, when you think about meadows, it's very vibrant, right?
Yeah, vibrant flower. We also thought a lot about healing. It's a place to heal. Medical cannabis and that the Prop 215 movement really stuck with us. And it's 2014. There's thousands of collectives in California.
Mhm.
I'm a patient, and I was a patient early, and had my card and went to dispensaries too. So yeah, it just had the calm but healing, safe, like sanctuary, right?
Yeah.
Because there's still a lot of stigma and whatnot around cannabis. And yeah, and we were trying to find something like no one else has used. Like we didn't
Yeah, it
go
doesn't
with
sound
like,
corporate. It sounds approachable for sure. Like I think
yeah,
when people create names and brands within cannabis, they tend to think of, oh, what are the category, catchwords, and build around it, and then it doesn't kind of allow for a future expansion when it's not just one thing, you know, and
yeah,
Meadow is definitely it, and it really sounds like, in terms of its original origin story, where you saw a need and an opportunity to be in service of those who are in service of others, and create something that is going to be, functional, something that is practical, and something that's needed.
yeah. I mean, we kind of built it for us. It was at the time, and this is 2014, um, Silicon Valley. So on demand everything, on demand cookies, on demand pizza, on demand, uh, Ubers and Lyfts, Instacart. These are all coming up, and it was a huge craze. And we're like, all right, well, push button, get cannabis. Can we make it as simple as that? And uh, growing up in a Chinese restaurant, I have a very, I guess, high bar for hospitality
Hmm.
and serving, and with people and for people. And I felt that that experience was lacking in at the time, because a lot of these dispensaries also didn't have the tools. It was
Right.
like a phone call, and then kind of like a text maybe that they're going to be on their way. Um, they had to get documentation to sign like collective agreements. Yeah, there's a bunch.
This
No
is
one could see the
everything.
menu.
Well, I guess if you kind of like think back in terms of where technology was, in the early teens, of 2000s, and how analog the cannabis businesses were, and you came from Y Combinator, right?
Yeah. I think we're the first cannabis technology company to go through YC in winter 2015. Shout out to all the YC founders that are still alive and moving
Killing
things
it.
along. I don't know. It's a journey. Yeah. One thing we noticed, it just felt wrong that all these dispensary owners, when we did our research and talked to them and like really went to the stores and sat with the owner operators, the bud tenders, that they couldn't get the tools that I was used to getting just being in tech.
Everywhere else in
Everywhere else, it was like discriminatory. It was, hey, we'll shut you down right away. Or like when we find out, it was, Yeah, a bit like that. And you'd have to beg for services in a lot of ways. And the ones that were still in the operating space um, also kind of grew to be more unwieldy because new laws and new regulations were coming and new ways of doing things and workflows. So we took it upon ourselves to build something for the people that are on the front lines that we could help further their mission, right? We build the tech, we work with them on really solid workflows, they sell the cannabis, customers smoke it up or eat it, and everyone's great. Like, can we just make that loop really easy and hospitable? And
Right.
yeah,
And
had
also,
that.
like the business side of running cannabis operations, I think it's even in today's, in present day, it's still very underdeveloped, and it's such an opportunity to be much more sophisticated in terms of looking at tools, what's available in the general market. But back then, I would think just helping people with inventory, knowing, how much they are buying and selling on a monthly basis, looking at SKUs, looking at products. A lot of data you can get off a POS system now that you couldn't get back then. But, from what I've heard, brands think, oh, back then all we needed to do was just put it in a bag and put it on shelf and it sells through. We don't have to like look at strategies and think about how do we sell something. It's just making available. But I would think from from dispensaries and the operator side of things, keeping track of where things are moving, and looking at sales, and you're not just like writing it on bits of paper, had a huge benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we actually built out the inventory features later. Our first go is really just sending customers and patients to it was Vape Rooms, our first customer. That was my first dispensary I went to when they were a storefront. Martin gave us a shot. I was like, hey man, can we work together? I'd love to build this thing. We were at 4505 eating barbecue and just like, hey, we'd like to work with you. Here's the plan. Let's like do this. And yeah, he said yes. So initially it was like, all right, let's just get them orders, and because he closed down his dispensary and turned to a delivery service, mainly because he had some issues with taxes, believe it or not, or IRS and all of that. So going to delivery, can we deliver that same vape room experience that of going in there through technology and through the service? And thankfully Martin said yes. And
Mm.
I think getting that initial go, and then what ended up happening was in YC you have to grow 7% week on week. Like that's your like mandate. If you don't do that, you're not going to have a good demo day.
Yeah.
um, so once we kind of exhausted our friends of like, hey, you should go on Get Meadow and buy some cannabis,
Yeah.
and we needed to find more patients, but you have to like see a doctor, and the doctor needs to give you a recommendation, and then the recommendation needs to be like sent to the dispensary, and then you got to sign their collective agreement. And like, so we ended up working with Dr. Dan, another person I met at Oaksterdam, believe it or not.
Mhm.
And he was like, great, I can help give recommendations and talk to customers and patients. And it's like, so we ended up hosting events and educating people about cannabis, educating people about sativa and indica, the different flowers. And we
Yeah.
would buy a bunch of delivery on getmeth.com after they would get the recommendation from Dr. Dan, down the way, and smoke and eat pizza and hang out. It was great. It was like the best way to grow a company during YC.
Well, that sounds amazing because, from what I've read, Meadow did start as a delivery service, right? Before it became a POS software.
Yeah, it was more around like a marketplace, helping customers find dispensaries that would deliver to them. And so we went from one dispensary with Martin and we added a few more in the area. We started looking at, all right, where can we get coverage? So anyone that would go to the website would be able to get cannabis with the push of a button. That was like our pitch. And we came out around the same time around Ease was starting, and a bunch of other tech enabled cannabis companies, because it seemed
Yeah.
like it was the new hot thing, I guess, as we saw
Well,
with
because like you were saying,
legalization.
everything was on demand, right? So why not cannabis?
Yeah, and I think the experience at the time wasn't great, so there was a lot of room for innovation.
That's right, because you've got your plug and then you've got your app.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that was great at the time. Like, we got to spend more time with consumers and more time with patients, because as a marketplace, you're like, all right, once you find the supply, you need to get the demand, you kind of bridge both gaps, playing catch, and then what we noticed was we hit sort of a bar on efficiency. Like, deliveries weren't like completing fast enough, and we're like, what's going on? And it turns
Yeah.
out they needed inventory management. They needed, an online menu. They needed, CRM. So those
Yeah.
were the things that we realized when we started hitting these efficiencies blockages. Then we started building toward that. That's when we kind of moved into SaaS, and instead of staying in the consumer side.
Final mile. Yeah. In the final
Yeah,
mile of the purchase,
yeah,
path to purchase, then you went further up in terms of organizing the supply.
yeah. And what's interesting is we also started growing Meadow MD, which was our on-demand doctor service. So you could get,
Nice. You got your
so all of a sudden,
telemed there too.
well, yeah, that was after. But before, Dr. Dan would get a boosted board and go around the city or on BART and meet people in their home and do in-home visits with people. These were like 30-minute consultations, helping people understand what tinctures are, how much of the edibles they should eat, what type of flower should they get. Hey, if you want something with CBD, get some like Harlequin, or get some, uh, other cannabinoids that can help you with pain alleviation, like an actual onboarding that was not just like a robo rec. And that was kind of cool. Like, we doing on-demand doctors, and then it moved into telemedicine when we needed people in LA and San Diego, and we're like, okay, we can't send Dr. Dan on a flight to San Diego.
Well, talk about capturing that first cannabis conversation too. I mean,
Yeah.
when you're creating those opportunities with a live person, not just on a phone call, not just on a Zoom, but having someone who's actually there with you to be able to talk through what is cannabis, how can it help you, um, short discovery into what are your ailments and what are you looking to be able to improve on in terms of overall well-being. A lot of those types of interactions are few and far between. We're seeing that PADs, patient education, BAs being in dispensaries, and sometimes, I guess a bud tender would do that, but it's very rare now. It used to be super high touch.
Yeah, it's weird. I think, speaking to Meadow as a brand and what we stand for, we really wanted every touch point to be high quality. Like, every point, even if it's not software, anytime you interact with us or the team or an extension of us, it needs to have that approachable, safe, simple, easygoing, and but also like really high quality. Like, it should feel that you had um like a concierge service almost helping you along the way, because there's so much misinformation about cannabis. There's so much stigma.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
so much, and I think we often take for granted. I mean, a decade plus, 2 decade plus cannabis experience versus someone like brand spanking new. Like, you can't, there's like a ritual to this. There's like an onboarding to it,
Absolutely.
and
All different aspects, all different aspects. Like even with my parents, I started them with the Poplin Barkley bomb
yeah,
and got them on
exactly.
the tinctures, and I live on our patches. But But there is that shift, right? Because you're really speaking to an entire community, from the early days where it's the patient, it's the health providers, it's the dispensaries where they're going to be able to find the products that are going to help them and the products that are going to ease their day ease their burden at the end of the day. And then if you think about where things are at right now in terms of who are your customers and how to stay competitive and stand out, a lot of those principles that you brought up just now are still relevant and still resonate.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think what's interesting is we're getting to a point. I mean, if we talk about today, right? We
Yeah.
we now have
Like
like
how to stay competitive in today, but keep the values of what you started with.
well, it's like I still believe this is plant medicine, right? Like let's not lose the story, the plot. Like this is at the end of the day, this is plant medicine that everyone should have access to. Full stop. Like this is all these man-made human laws that like we just happen to appear over the last century. Like doesn't even matter in terms of the timeline that cannabis has been here.
Yep.
Like plant medicine has been here. And I think that when we take a step back, the US is one of the highest countries that use prescription medication. Like it's one of the highest.
Yes.
And there are people that don't necessarily want to get high. They just want pain relief. Um, they want to sleep better. They
That's
want,
right. Pain,
you know,
anxiety, and sleep.
yeah. And weed's great for it. And I think we're actually getting to a point now where we've been able, through research and all the lab testing and all the consistency of different strains and growers, where you're able to single out different cannabinoids, you're able to single out different terpenes, you're able to like come together with different combinations that may be better for one effect versus another.
Yep.
And so I'm still learning. It's incredible. Like I am still in this, and every day I'm learning something new through someone that also has spent their time and livelihood going deep on soil bacteria, or like going deep on lighting and ventilation or genetics that like have been passed down and from for many generations. It's incredible if you really want to go deep and wide. It's here. But for the average person, if they have a one bad experience with weed, you can turn them off for life.
I
And
know.
that's like terrible, right? Like,
Yep. You have like that bad first experience, and then you turn them off for life, and then now they're not really interested in exploring how it could help them, which
yeah. And
really, it's very, very disappointing.
well, and that's how we approach Meadow. It's like anything we do has to have these themes around meeting people where they are and then making their life better, whether it's through tech or through education or through, some of their means or through community.
Well, 100%. I mean, when you're looking at um, the other, providers within our industry that are providing POS, inventory, technology. What really stands out from Meadow? I mean, like the qualitative aspect in terms of the values certainly stands out. It's not corporate in that way, but it provides, top of the line tech. And how do you stay competitive? How do you keep the team competitive?
We're really long-term focused. I mean, we try not to get too bogged down into like the day to day.
Yeah.
And we're really long-term partners, like super loyal, um, and really trying to speak to them as our customer and our boss, really. Um,
What are some of the
so
longest standing customers you've had, like, over a course of Meadows' lifetime?
how many or like people like,
Like,
Green Cross is
10
an awesome
years?
customer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Green
mean,
Cross is great.
Vapor Room was our longest standing up until last year when Martin had to shut down his spot. But yeah, he was our longest standing. It was like over a decade.
That's
And
amazing.
like that's kind of the people we are. We're here for it. We're like in the shops, in the back rooms, having conversations, getting texts at 9 o'clock at night, and popping out and just like helping somebody if they need it. And what's great is as each of these conversations have transpired, we've been able to build functionality in the Meadow. And so a lot of what makes this really unique is it's so simple and easy to use because it's so custom and bespoke for this industry, right? Like anything from milligrams to tax compounding solutions or problems thereof. We've built it into it over now a decade.
Yeah,
So
because you grew up as the industry was, becoming more sophisticated, more complicated, more complex. And I recall some LinkedIn posts in not this year, but in prior years where it's not just even, helping your customers succeed. It's not failing when your customers need you. Like POS systems that go down on 420, you just mind blowing, right?
it's mind blowing. But it's like, it comes down to reliability, reputation. Warren Buffett has like a great quote, which is like, you build a reputation over decades, it can be ruined in like 5 minutes. And it's tough. I think, I don't know. I tend to just stay in our lane. Like I see people in the race in the arena. It's great. Salute off to everybody because at the end of the day, we're still Team Cannabis. Like
Yes.
that's it. Like this is all still Team Cannabis. We can all have some cooperation here, but at the end of the day, it's like there's still way bigger forces out there that let's not lose the game here
That we're
because
all on
it's
the same side, right?
yeah. And like the cool thing is most people agree. Like the majority of humans on the planet agree. It's not like um, this is an issue of red versus blue or black versus white or US versus Canada. This is a global thing because it's plant medicine.
Yep. It's about
And
how do you want to feel? How can you feel better? How can you live healthier? How can you find ways that enrich your well-being?
it's tough. Yeah, absolutely. It's just we're in this world where we're leaving the medical or it has outgrown the medical side because of capitalistic nature, and capitalism is tough, right? Like regardless if you're in cannabis or not, the average business fails within the first 3 years, the majority of them.
Yeah.
And then after 5 years it tanks even more. So like in order to be competitive, you just really need to have happy customers that are willing to vote or pay you for your services that makes their lives better. Cuz that's it, right? Like we can have as much vibes as much as we can, but if
Or
I'm not
text
making
chat or dashboards, but ultimately
whatever.
you want to do business with people.
Yeah, exactly. And that add value to their business and actually like give a shit. Like not just, oh, sorry, you're down. Like let me it's not my problem versus, oh, you have an issue, cool, let me go talk to the team and get back to you and actually get back to them.
Oh
Like
my God.
not this just okay, leave you hanging type of thing. I mean, if you've worked in a dispensary and you're staring down a line that keeps growing, do you know how much anxiety you start building up? It's like because you like, people just want to get in and out, and
I
most people that yeah.
I think, well, yes, I have worked in a dispensary, not as a bud tender, but obviously during my Urban Leaf and Harborside days, being on
Yeah,
the other side
seriously.
and supporting on the retail side of the business, and the anxiety of staring down that line of customers that you need to get through. But when I was in college, I was a bank teller.
I didn't know that.
Yes, so
See, learning new things every day.
so I was a bank teller, and I can tell you that keeping people away from their money and being the conduit of their access to their money is probably one of the most stressful jobs you can have because people get super emotional, right? So if you're like, oh, sorry, we have to hold your check for 3 days, whatever, until it clears, like people are irate and screaming at you. So
And you
I
have to
do,
be chill.
and you have to be very professional and chill. I
Yeah.
understand, blah, blah, blah. Working retail is something that everybody should do in their career at least once and experience
Retail,
what it's like on the other
services,
side.
something. Absolutely. I mean, because you really understand human to human interaction. It's not just clicking through a screen. And
Right,
I think
because
you
you're
also
hearing
have
people's
empathy
real
for the other person.
yeah, you're hearing people's real problems, like, "Oh, I need access to this because I'm experiencing this pain. I'm having this problem." And they people want to be heard, and people can value from that, person to person relationship. And I think that's one of the really special things about you is that I knew who you I knew you before I knew what you did.
Ah, nice.
Like, when I first met you, when I first heard your name, like you to me were a person even before being, the co-founder of Meadow. It's like I heard about Meadowlands before I, heard about what Meadow did. And that's really different, right? When people I've been in the industry only since 2019, but so much of what you and the team build is really around community. And with Meadowlands, that's an annual must attend event. I think you're going to the East Coast this year, and also the MJ BizCon with Wake and Bake Brunch, where you have hundreds of people come through, and you host them and treat them to to this gathering where we're coming together, we're catching up, we're grabbing food, and really having a great time. And I really don't know that many people and professional companies that are creating that at the heart of it. So, you know, what then what then do you kind of get out of it, just in terms of creating these gatherings?
Yeah, I can't take credit for that. I appreciate like all of the appreciation. I think that what's that quote? We stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yes.
Like I think one of our greatest strengths is being from San Francisco. It's a unique thing to be here, um, especially because this is where medical cannabis started. And you see this evolution of people that really are stewards of the plant and stewards of providing clean medicine, right? Like, and also then you look on the other side of it, people being jailed for it, people being have lives ruined because of they're growing some weed. A helicopter comes and blows up their spot and they're hauled off to jail. It's such a crazy dichotomy when you see such goodness happening, but then like how much problems and evil can kind of come after people in this planning community. And so I think having that perspective has given me such a unique appreciation for all the gatherings I've been and have attended, whether it was at Oaksterdam or other sessions or people inviting me over for their place. And here's a harvest, and you're like, "Whoa, this is the best weed ever!" And you're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
like take as much as you want." And you're like, "What?" Just so kind and generous and compassionate. I think those values really stuck with us at Meadow. Like you can't, that's a part of our DNA. And I've also noticed that like cannabis is so much better with other people.
Yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I will hit a bong on a couch, hang out for a little bit on my own, no problem, or go for a hike. But smoking or consuming with others and being able to connect is like something really special.
Yeah,
You know?
I really see how cannabis is really a sharing experience, you know? I'm sharing
Yeah.
something with you, not just a plant, but, a conversation, how is my day, what I'm going through, what can we chew on? and it's just innately built in to those cannabis conversations.
Yeah, and I think what's even taking a step further, it's normal, right? Like if you're with other people, it's like, why isn't this available for anybody, right? And why do we have to create these spaces? Because I've been to conferences where there was no smoking and there's no consuming, and I'm in this hotel lobby. I'm like, so I'm gonna go. I'm regulated to the back side of the parking lot next to, you know, and so when we create these events, cannabis is part of it. You can consume it, you can share it, you can really enjoy it with others. And I think that's part of our the themes of what we do with community. It's like showcasing cannabis in a light where you're not stigmatized but celebrated, and you're like also normal, chill, and having a good time.
Yeah, and I think that's where right now, as we're seeing the velocity with beverages, there you are, with beverages, that that sharing opportunity can grow more rapidly versus combustibles, right? Where you're holding up a beverage, you're hanging out in a group. There isn't the smell that sometimes people feel adverse to, and I do see that, beverages, especially the, hemp beverages are really making its mark right now in terms of overall velocity.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think cannabis is amazing that it can be broken out into all these categories.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
It's amazing, and we're going to keep
Edibles.
discovering more.
Yeah.
It's just going to keep happening, and especially as we dial in, which plants with different cannabinoid profiles and how we layer in the terpenes and kind of what you're trying to go for. And I think there's way more paid research now than there used to be, like more grants.
Yeah.
Universities are able to get a grant to study cannabis. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
So
and there's cannabis curriculums that are popping up in different colleges
yeah,
around the country as well.
yeah, absolutely. And so I think more access is great. I think the conversation that's taken over, at least in the industry, is really around, is a molecule a molecule? Like, what is a molecule? Like,
Uh,
is it from a plant? Is it biosynthetic? Is it converted? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where we're nerding out, or also trying to figure out what are we talking about here? And we're trying to figure out, like, okay, is there a entourage effect, or is there a crowding effect? Like, do you need only one or two of these cannabinoids, or you need like a plethora?
mhm.
What's all the stuff that like is being extracted away? Do we need to add that back in? And what devices? It's like, all right, am I going to go hit disposable? Oh man, I don't really like the economic or environmental impact about it, but it's super convenient.
Yep.
Or do I get a Puffco? So I think there's like, these are the things we're wrestling with, which is interesting because we weren't talking about this stuff a decade ago, right?
Well,
But
that's
there
absolutely
are, yeah, but there are elements of the past that are amazing that should be available. Like, I still believe like deli style should be around. Like, you should be able to go to a dispensary, stick your head in a jar, and go for it. And I
yeah.
believe that we should have craft actual carve out where, like, if you're under a certain size and canopy, like, you don't need to do all of the packaging in the brand. You just bring your weed to the cannabis store, make sure it's tested, it's clean, and sell it out of the turkey bag again. Like, bring
Yeah.
back turkey bags. So it was like super efficient. Like, you know what I mean? It just, I feel like we're creating a lot of waste
We
for
are. There are
unnecessarily.
a lot of ways, but there's somebody earning a dollar or a couple of cents every step along the way, right? So I think that's where the commercialization of cannabis gets a bit convoluted.
Well, maybe it's like, yeah, but I know that if I am at a spot and I want to buy an ounce, I don't want 8 jars broken out. Like, I think it's just about opening up the funnel to the other purchasers. It doesn't have to be the end all be all. Like, yeah, you can still have packaged, jars and whatnot. People would choose what they want to.
Yeah.
I think it's just about making it easier, because we saw how good Prop 215 was. Like, we saw it was thousands of small businesses doing well. Like, no
Well,
problem. Paying
which
sales tax. Like, there wasn't, yeah, there are issues about people going to jail. Yes, there's issues around still being a Schedule 1, which it still is, where you can do it. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, there's elements of the past that we should have here. And I still think, like, compassion is one of them. Like, it's just, we need to have more compassion, I think, for a lot of things that we do, instead of just capitalism, which is, it's
well,
important,
a
but
point about where you are in the Bay Area, where I think the DNA of activism is so interwoven into, the history, into the background of Bay Area, of being in that space. How can I contribute to something that makes life better?
yeah. And there's also a pay it forward mentality. So when you asked about hosting Meadowlands, what we get out of it, it's just paying it forward. Like, hey, when we host Meadowlands, it's kind of our love letter to the community. It's like, okay, like, here are all the people we really care about that have been working their tails off, like, nonstop, have been navigating the ups and downs of these crazy tidal waves of change, and, like, and also within siloed across the state or across the supply chain. So let's get everyone together, see each other's perspectives, gain better um, layout of kind of what's ahead and what's going on and what's around us, and also try to help each other more. I think
Yeah.
that's another area where, like, there were no issues about bills being paid in the 215 days. Like, it just was paid. Like, you're on your word, right? And so you meet people, you want to make sure they're paid. It's a little bit easier than if you didn't know that other person on the other line of the email. So bringing people together for Meadowlands is definitely a treat for us. It's a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work, but we're happy to do it for everybody.
Well, that segues really well into the next question around, well, what's ahead? What can we expect from Meadowlands in the next 6, 12 months? I mean, we're halfway through the year now.
Yeah, we're taking a break on Meadowlands this year. We're looking for other venues on the East Coast, but they have to be cannabis friendly, and they're just not there yet. They're not there of, like, hosting a bunch of people smoking weed. And I'm like, didn't we do this already? Thanks, appreciate you. We Yeah, so we're paused, and we're taking our energy and really trying to figure out how we halt this tax increase. That's, like, the number one priority. It's like, okay, what do we need to do to spread the word that a tax increase in July is the most terrible idea ever, and
Yes.
to not do it. And so we'll know July 1st. It's still, like, up in the air. It said it's happening, but I don't know. So we're trying to leave capacity to deal with these, like, insane challenges that are coming, or hopefully will not come, at least on that side.
Well, props to you in terms of, marshaling your team and really getting behind these challenges that everybody's facing, because, so many companies are struggling, and then they don't even have the bandwidth to fight for what's going to help them survive.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well,
I've been thinking a lot about, too, like, being out here. Um, One of the things that San Francisco or Silicon Valley is special is, like, it's okay to fail.
yeah,
I feel like, at least in cannabis, um, it's okay to fail. It's okay to close up shop. It's okay to put on another jersey and to take that experience and keep going. So I think, like, as I look at the future, these changes are going to create some upheavals,
absolutely.
and but cannabis will still be sold and consumed. Like, that's not going away.
Mhm.
Like, can you stay in the game long enough, or can you, learn and grow and build and make an impact, at one spot. If it doesn't work out, you move on to the next spot. Right. I think there's people here that really care about this, not just as a profession. It's like it's their livelihood, it's their calling, it's what they believe is their higher purpose. And it's tough when you fail. It's tough when you have to close up. It's tough when you close those doors and lay people off. It's tough. We've seen it time and time again. And why I usually tell people is like, it's okay, man. You're gonna get back up. Tomorrow's another day.
That's
Let's
right.
roll something up.
Rebuild.
Let's rebuild. I think the problem that I see though is sometimes all these mistakes kind of compounded, and then you're gonna have to unravel that for a while, and that's really rough. But yeah, there's always another day, and
I
failure is
know.
fine.
That's why, like, the people who you've built long-term relationships with, you know, then they'll come back at it through, a different opportunity, a different company, wearing a different jersey, like
Hopefully,
you're saying, right?
that's what I'm hoping. I mean, it's we've lost a lot of great people to, and I appreciate the contributions and everything that they did. Like they made a mark and they move on. And it's
Yeah.
kind of where we're at. It's like I said, we're stewards. Like we got the baton. We're gonna pass it to the next group when it's our turn to lay it down, and hopefully they keep it on. Keep it going.
Well, yeah, I've seen a lot of that even with marketers in our space. So many great marketers have been pushed out or just not being able to sustain a livelihood within the industry and have had to leave the industry. And that's a huge talent strain for us. We're still early innings in our industry, and when we need all the passionate talents that we can get.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think it's almost like, what do you expect too? Like this is a totally new thing, right? Like the playbook is yet, like we're literally writing it. Like it's
Well,
is
to me, that's the most exciting part of being in the cannabis industry,
mm,
is that we get to create things and do things that haven't been done before. And, with experience from outside of this industry, bring it into the industry and but create it specifically as our own. That's really exciting. You don't get to do
yes.
that in your career and your lifetime very often.
Yeah, and do it for something that actually
Meaningful.
matters. At least, yeah, meaningful, right? It's yeah, cannabis has been super helpful for me, and I think more people that are on the side of seesaw makes a lot of sense. It's just we're still dealing with outdated laws. We're dealing with outdated way of thinking. Um, but our side's growing. There's more awareness. There's more sales that are happening.
Nice.
When you say early innings, it's like it's not fully global yet. Like I'd love to go to Vietnam and smoke some fatties, and eat some pho and kind of hang out with everybody. Like that'd be great. Or you
Well,
know,
you can go to Thailand, which is, right next door.
that's true. But isn't that so crazy? It's like, come on, guys, it's happening over there. Let's just deal away with all of this outdated thinking. It just makes it easier for everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, like
So
when I travel to Hong Kong, I can't bring anything, not even CBD in anymore.
I know it's so silly.
Yeah, and I
Oh
was there
man.
just a couple weeks ago. Um, so here's a question where, um, you have so much heart for this industry and so much heart for the community. How can people reach out to you or to Meadow to get involved, to learn more, and to reach out to you?
Yeah, we're pretty accessible. Either email or find me on social, or we're also manning the support line on any of the chats. So we're here. The team's here. We think a lot about helping the industry every day. This is what we wake up and go to bed with. And, I also think like shoot your shot.
Yeah.
David at getmeadow.com. Just go for it. Whatever. Here to help. We don't have any ego really on any of this stuff. It's just we have an opinion, strong opinion on some of these, but we're also willing to be flexible and learn. And I think that's the name of the game. Pay it forward. It's worked out so far. But who's to say what happens? I have no idea. Like we're just gonna keep trying and then see where it goes.
I love
But
that.
I'm happy to wear this jersey, and I'm happy to work with the team to keep doing what we do.
Oh, I love that. Now, since we're in the latter part of May, which is the AAPI month, I'm sure you get asked this question a lot, and that is around, being Asian in cannabis for such a long time. What was your experience when you were sharing with your family about what you do?
Yeah, in 24, I think here's the my saving grace. There's two areas. One, plant medicine. Asians love plant medicine. I don't know, for those that want to feel seen right now, I grew up eating and drinking various tonics and broths that are often bitter, that had like crazy ingredients in there. They're all dried up and put in and like
Brown?
boiled brown, like molassesy, like all this stuff. Because it's going to help my bones, or because it's going to help balance out my heat,
Mhm.
and like all this stuff. And so it was kind of there already. Like when you eat, or when you drink ginseng, why are you drinking ginseng? Why are you eating bone broth? It's like, this is all because it's all healing for our bodies. And with cannabis, it was the same thing. I was like, look, this is grown from the earth. Here it is. This is how it helps me. It's smoking it, but people eat it. People, go that. So that was helpful. And then my track record as like a type A or accomplished Asian helped me. Because I tried a lot of things. I worked in Wall Street. I started another startup. I went in other startups in different health fields or gifting. And I think they just trusted me to, like, this is what I want to do. Like, go for it. I mean, they found my stash like when I was younger in high school. I know they did because they just happened to be missing. We
Yeah.
never talked about it though. Like, I don't know if that's typical, but like we just didn't talk about it. I was like, I guess I lost it, and then moved on. So it wasn't like they didn't know I was a consumer.
You didn't get scolded or anything.
No, I didn't. My parents were just so busy working at the restaurant, and we were also so busy just like trying to get good grades and stay on honor roll and do sports and all that stuff. So, um, yeah, I mean, there are a lot. I think there are more Asians coming through. I don't know. I feel so. I
I don't
think
know.
we're a
I
lot.
I tell people that Asians are the backbone of the industry. We're
Okay, that's
we're
that's
we're in the
that's
we're
bold.
I truly believe in this. From
Okay,
cultivation to
yeah,
manufacturing to technology and on the front
sure.
lines, there's some significant Asians all the way along the cannabis journey.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we're here for it. For the, I think there's um, a strong work ethic there, and we've also been able to bring other, skills and perspectives from other industries in. That's a bit unique. And I think in general we want to just make things better. So like efficiencies and trying to solve problems, and that works well in our favor. But like I don't know. It's like I've met
And
so
also
many.
the resilience and discipline, I think, are pretty critical in terms of just having the right character traits for this industry, right? You know? taking
Yeah.
taking a long-term view of the world, having a strong work ethic, being disciplined, being resilient, and seeing that relationships are really the foundation of everything that we do. You know, we're all about our family.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the day to day, watching my parents like run a restaurant for 40 years, same thing every day, every week, and you just gotta, put in your time. And so, yeah, that's what we do. We're doing here, and try to enjoy it the best you can. I think that it, to me, we talked a lot about the plant, but why we would not even like know each other if it wasn't for this plant, right? And
Yep.
like I think about all the amazing people I've met and still have been connected to through this plant, through this opportunity. And so I think that's really special. Like it's not just Asians, it's like every single person, every single flag and banner, all different age groups too, right?
Yes.
Like I can go from hanging out, we hosted a Brownie Mary meeting a couple weeks ago, and then we had like Alien Labs here doing a drop before 420, like 2 months before, and it's people from all over that love weed, that consume it, and it's so cool to just be like, hey, what's your story?
Yep.
How are you doing? What's and just kind of like enjoy each other's company because of that, and that's I think also unique.
I love that. Well, thank you for those final words because, you guys don't only say it, you live it and you share it. And that's so powerful for everybody. So, my final question is around this whole fun and personal insight into, David Hua. Is that if you had a cannabis themed superhero alter ego, what would it be and why?
Yeah, we're gonna go with Munchie Man.
Yeah.
We're going to. I love food. Food's like one of my love languages, and being able to give everyone the munchies without any of the morning shame, without any of the extra calories. You eat what you want. It doesn't have. It didn't. You never put on a single calorie. Like it's just enjoy,
Yeah,
and
no guilt.
no guilt. It's all there. Munchie Man will take take all that away and deliver all the goodness that satiates your palate.
Well, what a happy character Munchie Man is. I can definitely see it.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for being on Branding Like a Boss. This is episode 10. I've been so looking forward to it. And so much of what we talked about wasn't really just about the branding and what is a brand, but it's about the values of who you are and what you infuse through everything that you do. And that is incredibly meaningful. So appreciate you.
Thank you. Yes. I think it's actually pretty crazy when, you look around and the value systems that we hold are to be true, or what we learn from each other. Some of these are like, you know, ancient values, right? Community and working together and all of that. So it's definitely been a pleasure hanging out and being in this space with each other. Thank you for the chat.
Okay. Thank you.